For those of you who haven't seen a cocoon before, I have one over here. As you can see, it's a relatively small object. Very often they're perfect white in colour, sometimes stained slightly yellow, then that's apparently because of caterpillar urine. Hello, my name's Tim Lightfoot and welcome to MHA Digital Communities. I'm here today at the Paradise Mill Macclesfield, where I'm a guide and have been for the last 6 years, and I'd like to show you some of the things that I really enjoy at this museum. The first thing I'd like to show you is this tableau which explains the life cycle of the silkworm, a process that's called sericulture. This particular tableau is nice and functional. It was produced for a firm called Gadham's, who had businesses both in Macclesfield and Leek and still are in existence today. It was produced in Japan, and very simply it shows us what happens to that silkworm. So initially you have a male and a female moth. Moths called Bombyx mori. They mate and the female produces approximately 400 eggs, and those eggs hatch as a millimetre long larvae. And then that larvae is fed on the leaves of the white mulberry tree. It will eat other vegetation, but the white mulberry produces the best raw silk. So over the course of 5 weeks, the caterpillar essentially feeds and feeds and feeds until ultimately it's a 70mm long creature. And at that point, the caterpillar wants to turn itself into a moth. And in order to do that, it creates a cocoon. For those of you who haven't seen a cocoon before, I have one over here. As you can see, it's a relatively small object. Very often they're perfect white in colour, sometimes stained slightly yellow, then that's apparently because of caterpillar urine. There's something between 700 and 900 metres of raw silk on one of these cocoons, which is quite phenomenal to be created by such a small creature. And the female caterpillar generally produces a larger cocoon than the male. Now, in the caterpillar's mouth, it has a set of jaws, and those jaws are designed to create a single thread. That thread is produced from its jaws, and because it's covered in a gum called sericin, the thread binds together and creates this dome-like shape over the course of approximately a day, day and a half. And it's within that cocoon that the caterpillar will, if it had its way, transform itself into a moth. Now in the wild, a caterpillar would look to latch that cocoon under some vegetation to hide itself from predators. But this is a commercial process. So if you went to China today, where the bulk of raw silk is still produced, you would see mulberry orchards, but the production of the cocoons takes place in what's essentially a warehouse. And within the warehouse would be tray after tray after tray with caterpillars on them, and workers bringing mulberry leaves in for them to eat. When we want to produce the cocoon, we give them these little frames, which mimics vegetation. The caterpillar crawls into that frame, settles itself down, produces its cocoon, and then shrinks its body down into its pupa form. If it then had its way, it would transform itself into a moth, produce a solution from its mouth, and essentially cut a hole in the cocoon, crawl out, pump its wings up, and away it would fly. But it's never going to reach that stage, because what we want is that cocoon to be intact. So unfortunately, from the caterpillar's perspective, we kill the pupa at that stage, and we kill them using electricity, sound waves, steam, boiling water. There's a variety of different methods, and then we harvest the silk by dropping the cocoons into a tank of warm water, and by using a special device, draw the threads off and bind them together. And that's very much the start of the raw silk process.